Ladies and gentlemen, I find it interesting how much drama there has been surrounding the Black Ops 7 beta and fear, really, that has been brought upon the Call of Duty community. And I have a new biggest fear when it comes to Black Ops 7, which I'm going to show you today. And oddly, the exclusive Ace made a video saying my new biggest fear with Black Ops 7. I've got one too, and if you follow me on Twitter, specifically yesterday, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think I dealt with things yesterday very well. I will tease that, but we'll get into it. I don't know what Ace's fear is, but I know what mine is. So we'll get into it all together.
What's because my name is Ace, and yesterday we got the big news that they brought the open playlist to Black Ops 7 with reduced SBMM. And when covering that, I shared some of my really early impressions after playing a small handful of matches. And what I said there was, generally speaking, it still felt pretty sweaty, like pretty difficult with the matches overall, but...
See, to me, it felt night and day different. Like, yes, there were sweaty matches, but when I was in the sweaty matches, I still felt like I had a chance. It still felt like I could make a difference for my team. It still felt like there was one game I got into where I quit. I was just like, nope. It was just like, it was clearly a group of 6 people all playing together. And that's the thing with no skill-based matchmaking, is you're going to get thrown into games like that. And that's okay sometimes. But yeah, sometimes it can be frustrating. But that's Call of Duty.
Much looser than my experience before that, and much more enjoyable as well, despite the fact that lobbies were still pretty difficult. However, now I wanted to share my updated thoughts on this, as well as my new biggest fear for Black Ops 7 going forward. Because I've been playing the game pretty much all morning now in this open playlist and having an absolute blast.
Thank you.
This is by far the most fun I've had playing Call of Duty as a solo player, at least, in I don't even know how long.
I completely agree, especially playing solo. I could not play. The only time I would play Black Ops 6 was on live stream with you guys in an open lobby, because otherwise the game was absolutely unplayable.
It's been so many years since I've had an experience like this. And
all right, I can add to this video. I'm going to increase the fear levels here, because this is exactly what I was hoping he would talk about, and he did. So if you didn't see what happened yesterday, here's what went down. So first things first, the new playlist update came out. They added in Toshin, and then they changed the playlist. And the day before, we had open search and destroy with no skill-based matchmaking in it. Yesterday, they changed it so that it is now regular search and destroy. So I tweeted saying, so they just changed open search and destroy to skill-based matchmaking search and destroy. Do we get mad yet? Matt Scronce, the lead multiplayer guy at Treyarch, responded saying, we're trying to ... give players what they want as much as we can, limit how many playlists we have active to focus population and data. That's fine. And get solid testing data and feedback on matchmaking. Okay. My response, and I think this was a pretty level-headed and good response. I said, we as players are scared. It's as if we are having the carrot dangled in front of us for what we have wanted for 5+ years. I absolutely love the open mosh pit, but with no confirmation that it will be there at launch, how can I/we be anything but worried? I think that is an incredibly level-headed response. Now, I'm not going to go through the rest of the responses because they go at Matt Scronce, essentially saying, you haven't listened to us for 6 years. Why should we believe that we're listening to you now? And I will say the same thing that I said yesterday. If they do not bring open playlists at the very least, or just do not have skill-based matchmaking in base multiplayer, I will not be playing multiplayer this year. End of story. I just won't. I'll play Endgame. I'll play Zombies. I'll be done with. I'll play Battlefield. Literally, I will play Battlefield 6. I don't need to be sweating like that. I'm old enough at this point. If I want to go get competitive, I'll go play some hockey or go play a sport. I do not need to sweat when I play video games. So that's my fear as well. And I think I got that point across pretty well. And I think the community is behind that at this point. I've seen polls where like 92% of people are saying they prefer open matchmaking. I've seen comments where people are saying, yeah, I still get trounced in open, but I feel like it's fair. Like, I know that each lobby is going to be random. I can use different guns. Man, I'm tired. And I can't do, after playing this, I can't do it. And they've dangled the carrot. There's no going back for me now. Now, anyway, going back to Ace. Let's go.
I actually almost forgot to record today's video because I was just so into the game. I just wanted to keep playing over and over. I had to take a break away from it so I could come record this video. And that's not something I normally feel with Call of Duty. Normally with Call of Duty in recent years, it's kind of been content first and like I'm playing so I can get the content with a hopeful side effect that I'll have some fun along the way. But this morning I've been having so much fun.
Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture for you because I thought about this last night. I couldn't sleep last night, so I was laying in bed thinking about this. I know, I'm weird. I was laying in bed and I'm like, man, I've really enjoyed this open playlist thing. Imagine the game launches and we have multiplayer where you can play solo and just be able to grind camos and feel like you're not at a crazy disadvantage all the time when you use a crappy weapon. And then we're gonna have zombies, which I broke the round 50 on stream yesterday. We're still going on stream today. We're going for round 100. And then you have those challenges in there and those camos. And then you have endgame, which from all the leaks that I've seen is apparently going to be like Modern Warfare zombies, but campaign with story, 6 hours of story. And then we have Battle Royale. I don't really care about Battle Royale, but we have those three. Oh my God. Do we actually have a game on our hands? We might actually have a game on our hands.
Lost track of time. And the crazy thing is, it's not like I'm even dominating matches. Sure, I've had some good games where I'm actually putting up some high streaks. And of course, you're going to be seeing those better games where I was really doing well. But that's not representative of every game that I'm playing in this playlist by any means. I've had plenty of games where my team's getting stomped on and high streaks are coming in on the other end. And in this playlist, I don't really mind. Obviously, I would prefer to be playing well, but when I get beat up like that, I know that it was largely organic getting into that match.
And you see things where someone on the other team actually has a standout life where they just go on a streak and they earn a streak. It's not like they're completely stomping the other team. They finish like with a 1.5 kill death, but they got a VTOL. They had that good life. That's what Call of Duty used to be, man. Everyone had a chance constantly to pop off.
I don't feel like it's the matchmaking system punishing me because I played too well in the previous match. It's just every time I load up, I never know what I'm going to get.
Exactly.
Might be an easy game, might be a tough game, might be somewhere in the middle where it's just a nice back and forth competitive game. And that's such a refreshing feeling, and it makes taking those L's that much easier. Like, I've just been sticking through those games, even the ones we're getting beat up on. I stick through most of those now because I don't feel like an algorithm decided that was going to happen to me, and instead it was just something that happened to happen. Additionally, the matchmaking times have been ridiculously fast. I haven't experienced matchmaking times like this in Call of Duty since before Modern Warfare 2019. Like, I'm hitting the button to search and often finding games within 5 seconds. That's completely unheard of for me on my account. Usually it takes about 40.
I don't know if I can say this because I don't know if it's public knowledge, but Ace also lives in Canada. And he lives in an area of Canada that is much worse for servers than mine. Like I'm near Toronto. So I have like the New York servers. I have other servers. There's lots of servers around me. He doesn't have as many servers. So for him, that is unheard of.
Plus seconds for me to find a match in Call of Duty. And that's roughly where it was at before this open playlist came. But with the open playlist, it's practically instant. And anecdotally, I don't have the data on this. I haven't been calculating my ping values every single game. But anecdotally, I'm seeing fewer high ping connections than I was before this open playlist. Like, I'm not going to pretend I wasn't getting good ping matches before this, but I was also getting a lot of higher ping matches sprinkled in there. Whereas with this open playlist, it seems to be much more consistent with those lower ping games. And it's been very, very rare that I've been getting anything higher than like a 50 ping, for instance, which is quite good for me because in recent years, my ping jumps all over the place from one game to the next. One game, it'll be 20 milliseconds. The next, it'll be 70. Next one after that, it's 90 and then back down to 20. Like, it's kind of all over the map. But in this playlist, it's been much more steady and consistent overall, with the odd match still mixed in there where the ping spikes a bit. So my general experience with the beta immediately flipped around now that we have this open playlist compared to what I was experiencing before. Before this, I was having a generally negative experience with the game, and I talked about that in yesterday's first video, which was recorded before this open playlist was added. And in that video, I was essentially saying, like, I think I'm transitioning to Battlefield this year. Like, Call of Duty is going to take a back seat because I'm...
Dude, the amount of people that are in the boat of Ace right now, where like we saw T-Dog, I watched his video but didn't get it up before they removed skill-based matchmaking, where people were just literally like, dude, if Call of Duty is going to be this sweat fest, I'm playing Battlefield this year. Like, Battlefield is, I don't have to sweat like this. And man, competition works.
Not really having fun, despite the fact that I think the gameplay design is actually quite good in this game.
Agreed.
Or at least it suits me really well. The matchmaking was just unbearable. It was exhausting to play. And I've completely changed my tune on that with the open playlist.
Also, I love the VTOL in this game.
This is where the topic of this video really comes in. My big fear with Black Ops 7 is that this is going to end up being the best time that I have with this game, period. Like, for me, it's just going to be all downhill from here, because I feel like the way they've handled things in past years, at least, has conditioned me to think fairly pessimistically about this. And what I picture happening here, I hope it doesn't, but what I picture happening here is they're going to be collecting their data with the open versus closed playlists.
Don't say it.
And it's going to conclude that while this really significantly improves the player retention and the experience of players like myself, it's going to have a generally negative impact for the majority of the player base that are the casuals that have been protected heavily by the matchmaking system in recent years, and they've become accustomed to achieving a certain level of performance in game that they wouldn't be achieving if this system weren't in place to artificially allow that to happen. And so if that's the conclusion they gather from their data, unfortunately, if they're just looking at the data, it makes sense to go with the majority, right? Well, I don't know. Like I've been saying leading up to Black Ops 7, I think a lot of people...
He said that too well, and he scared me.
People have reached their breaking point with this modern matchmaking system. They've stuck with it, and they've been hanging around largely for a lack of something better to play, or just out of habit or addiction to the franchise, despite enjoying the game less and less and less year after year. I think a lot of those players were really reaching a burnout, and now that we have competition in the market, really viable competition with Battlefield, I think maybe they were starting to see that long-term burnout effect hit hard, and therefore...
So I'm really glad he also worded it that way, because that's exactly what it is. It's 100% long-term burnout. And it is like... It's the problem with a lot of studies, right? They will look at the short term, right? I will give you an example after I explain the Call of Duty thing. So yes, you do the studies and it says, okay, in this individual play session, we implement skill-based matchmaking and this player played for 15% longer. The longer they play, the more likely they are to buy microtransactions. In other words, skill-based matchmaking good. What that doesn't take into account is 6 months down the road, 3 weeks down the road, 3 years down the road, 6 years down the road, when someone's played on this playlist, how likely are they to still be playing the game? And now that we've seen the player numbers for Call of Duty, we know that answer. Players drop off because of this skill-based matchmaking. Their testing that they so badly want to see, that Matt Scrons told me about, has happened for 6 years. We see what happens to the player numbers. A great example of this, right, is cigarettes, okay? You take someone who smokes a cigarette and we see that, okay, they smoke a cigarette and guess what? Their metabolism speeds up. They lose weight. They are more aware. Their cognitive function is higher. But lo and behold, 15, 10, 5, 50 years later, they die of lung cancer.
Maybe this same argument isn't going to be applying like it used to in the past. And maybe they are recognizing that they are going to have to give back to players like myself that are ready to leave if things don't change this time around. So time will have to tell on this and how they handle it. Another big fear I have is not necessarily that they're just going to get rid of this entirely. Another big fear is that they're going to provide us with this open playlist option at launch, but it's just going to be one playlist going up against all of these standard playlists that have the same strict matchmaking system we've seen over the past handful of years. And if they do that, that mode would be doomed to fail right from the beginning, because the vast majority of the player base will just play the standard game modes, and really the only people...
Yeah, like for example, perfect example is yesterday when they add in search and destroy without open search and destroy. That's not a comparison. What are you testing at that point? I guess you're testing open versus closed search and destroy, who plays what more and for longer, but they're not competitive. They're not against each other at the same time. I don't know. And I feel like there's some Activision higher up out there who's like manipulating things behind the scene to show numbers that aren't going to be genuine. And I don't know. I'm worried about it. Like this is...
They're going to be seeking out this mode specifically are the people looking to avoid SBMM, which tend to be the higher skilled players, meaning that higher skilled players will be overrepresented there. And then for those higher skilled players, it's not going to feel that much different than their strict match.
Honestly, what I think they should do is they should have all of the playlists be open playlists, except for one that is a skill-based matchmaking playlist. That one you put in Mosh Pit, And that one will essentially end up being for worse players, because everyone who hits a certain skill level will just want to play in that open playlist anyway. At least that's the way I see things.
Matchmaking experience because of that selection bias. So time's really going to have to tell when it comes to this. I'm curious to see if Treyarch will be sharing the data on this that they collect throughout the beta.
They won't.
And I'm curious to see what they decide to do. But yeah, I think if they announce that that's what their plan is going forward, is to simply provide that open playlist at launch, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be enough for me to really address my issues with how exhausting the experience has been and with how burnt out I've been feeling with Call of Duty because of those systems. Especially
because of how bad Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed spawns are specifically. They just flip nonstop. I hate playing Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed in this game.
And now, after playing with this open playlist, it's very clear that I'm not burnt out with Call of Duty. I'm burnt out with these matchmaking systems. I still love Call of Duty. I still love the experience when it's more organic and varied. And that's another thing as well. I think community sentiment really turned around when they did this overall. I'm seeing a lot of positivity surrounding this within the vocal community that you see online talking about. Like, I'm talking on Twitter, YouTube, Reddit. It's generally a very positive sentiment, which we haven't been seeing leading up to Black Ops 7. It's been largely negative, and this turned the tables on that. So if they now go back on this, I think that's really going to push those people away, because they were given a taste of what it could be like. And in a lot of ways, we feel very validated.
Like I said, dangling the carrot. Oh, you want it? You want it? You can't have it. Can't have it.
By this, because we see now that it is these systems we've been frustrated with. And it's not just the fact that we're getting old and we're getting burnt out with the franchise in general because we've been playing it for so long. So the ball's in their court here. I'm very curious to see what comes of this. And I think my year of gaming and on YouTube really hinges on what they decide to do at launch when it comes to this matchmaking system. I'm still feeling like I could just as easily go over to Battlefield 6 if they go a route that I'm not happy with, and that's totally fine. Like, if they decide that's what's best for the overall community, I can respect that decision if they're following the data and going with what the majority seem to want based on their data. But I think they need to understand that
this needs to be something that comes out quickly after the beta. People don't need to speculate what this is. People don't need to wait to hear whether or not there's going to be skill bait. Just tell us.
You're going to lose a lot of us if that happens. Now, of course, these are just my thoughts on this whole situation, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What has your experience been like with this open playlist? Has it been similar to mine, where you've seen a lot more variety and it feels a lot more organic and you're enjoying yourself more? Or
so here's the thing. Ace is asking my opinion here. I think now Treyarch, and good on Treyarch, and also Matt Scront sending me that message, I think was slightly on purpose. I think he's putting these things out there to get the hate. I think he's playing 3D chess, because I think he's like trying, in my opinion, I think he's trying to get no skill-based matchmaking in the game. And by doing responses like that, he gets the negative feedback, which then he can show to Activision higher-ups, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. Because otherwise his response doesn't make any sense there. You've tested this for 6 years. Why does it need more testing? It doesn't make any sense. So I think that's what he's doing. I think he's playing some 3D chess. Now my opinion is simple. They've now shown us that this is possible to change the matchmaking. Now that we've had a taste, if you remove it, people are gone. People are gone. And if you say something stupid like, oh, maybe down the road we look at bringing it back in. No, just no. You can't give us something like that and then take it away when people have enjoyed it that much. And it's clear that the community wants that. They're screwed, man. They're screwed if they get rid of it. And that's my only thing that I keep thinking in my head is they can't get rid of it now. And Ace is right. If they just do the open mosh pit, that's not enough. It's not, because then when they put in a new playlist, like say, for example, they bring in Demolition for season 1, it's going to have skill-based matchmaking in it. And that sucks. Then I just won't want to play that playlist. And then what's the point of putting out new game modes, right? I think you see where I'm going with here. It either needs to be on or off by default, and I'm hoping it's off. That's all I can say. But it does scare me. Ace is right. It's scary.